whether it should be 20/80, whether it should be 50/50, whether it is 60/40. What? This is, we have to understand. What is optimal capital structure? Now let's look at the diagram first. This is debt to equity. Or if you go on the right side, you are adding more debt. This is rate of return. Remember, the cost of equity is more than cost of debt. So you have got two components, cost of equity and cost of debt. When you are at here, let's say at 0, you have only equity. Imagine you are mixing two things. The red paint and yellow paint. Red paint is more costly than yellow paint. You are slowly adding on the right side. When you go, you are adding slowly the yellow paint. You can think like that. Here what you are doing, you are adding slowly the debt to the balance sheet. Your WACC will be somewhere in between the bold line. This is weighted average which you have seen. You can find out any weight and you can plot. The WACC will lie between these two, correct, no? One is this number. You are taking an average of 5 and 2. That average will lie between 5 and 2. So here, the WACC will lie between the respective cost of equity or cost of debt. And if you look at the graph, you can find that at a particular point, which is this, if you look at that, you can find out that is the minimum WACC. At a particular mix, the WACC is minimum. That is the optimum capital structure. The optimal capital structure is a point at which gives the minimum weighted average cost of capital. If your cost of capital is the minimum, the value of the firm is maximum. This is the capital structure point which gives the maximum value for the shareholders. How do you get the maximum value? By minimizing the WACC. Your rate is lower. When the rate is lower, the value is up, right? Your discount factor is lower. So what is the WACC? What is optimal capital structure? The optimal capital structure is a particular mix of debt and equity which gives the minimum WACC. At minimum WACC, you are maximizing the shareholder value. The value of the firm will be the maximum. Remember, the focus of the management is not maximizing EPS. Some questions will be there. Which one of the following statements is correct? Optimal capital structure is the point at which the firm tried to increase, when the firm tried to get the maximum EPS. No. You can maximize EPS by taking more debt. but what is happening? You will increase that risk. If you go to the right side, you are increasing the risk on the balance sheet. So optimal capital structure is not the point which gives the maximum EPS. Optimal capital structure is the point which maximizes the value of the firm, not EPS. So read and understand this diagram. I explained it already. If you have any doubt, you should ask me. Suppose someone asks you in an interview, you should answer it. Even entry level, there are a lot of interview. Yesterday in fact, I got a call from one of our students. He qualified CMA. He got a job with EY, Ernst & Young, in this pandemic. There were test and interviews. This big four people, PwC, EY, Deloitte, KPMG, they conduct tests. They ensure that the people know all this basics. Okay, Bunyamin got a doubt. Okay, he is typing again. I will wait. How can I find that point? Okay, minimum WACC point. You have a graph. What is this, Bunyamin? You have a graph. Good, you should ask now. You have an x-axis and y-axis. This is x, this is y. You are plotting. This is x-axis, what? Debt to equity. A different debt to equity, you have different points. You get a graph like this. This is the percentage cost. You can identify, no? This is the point. At this point, what is the debt to equity? Or you can get a table. You can identify the minimum. Graphically, just to make you a point, they are plotting a graph. The graph is nothing but a geographical representation of the data. Alright? Say yes or no? You got the point? Yeah. Now, the practical issue is you cannot identify this point like a bullseye. Instead, they will look for a range. Within that range, they are comfortable. It can be between 40 to 60. The debt can be 40 at minimum and 60 maximum within this bracket. Because this cannot be maintained on day-to-day basis or yearly basis. Because you will be making money, you will be retained earnings, your capital structure will be slowly changing. So they look for a range. Now the next one. Impact of income taxes. You don't need to worry about too much about the discussion. There is some taxation discussion. But always remember the tax rates affect or the tax laws affect the capital structure. You may get a theory question. That way you can expect. They may ask you to calculate the WACC and explain how taxation is relevant in capital structure decisions. Taxation is important. Why? Because If you look at the debt, the cost of capital is post-tax. The interest expense you book in your P&L is giving you a tax shield, which we have seen in the previous discussion when we discussed the bond valuation and all. The interest expense is tax deductible. So it is better to use debt in the capital structure. And look at the suppliers of money. If I invest in a share, what I am doing? I am giving the money to the company is raising money, let's say to an IPO. In return, I will get shares. When I sell, there is capital gain tax. You know, this capital gain is subject to change. It varies from country to country. You don't need to remember about these rates and all. What is capital gain? When you sell a share, you make gain. In India right now, what is the rule? If you sell a share within less than 1 year of purchase, the government will take 15%. If you are an NRI, straight away they will cut 15% and you will get only the balance in your bank account. For residents, you have to file the return. Long term, if you sell more than 1 year, after 1 year, let's say after 365 days, your taxation is only 10%. So there is short-term capital gain and long-term capital gain. You don't need to worry. Now, another money you get is dividend. Imagine I don't sell any share, but I get dividends from the company. For the company, the dividends are not tax deductible, right? What do? You arrive at a P&L, you pay the taxation, you get net income. Out of the net income, you pay dividend. So the dividend is already suffered a taxation at the company level. Let's say Reliance Industries pay the tax, the balance is available for dividend. Earlier, dividend was tax free, now not anymore. Most of the countries tax dividend also. Okay, you get dividend, you will be taxed based on your income levels. Mukesh Ambani get the dividend from Reliance, big crores. 200 crore, like that, he get dividends. But he is subject to taxation. Again, he has to pay 30% taxation to the company, to the government. But this dividend taxation is relatively lower. For example, let's say normal people, they invest, they get some dividend. They will be paying tax only if the income is more than 5 lakh. So normally, dividends at the hands of an investor is taxed at a lower level because this is effectively double taxation. See, the company has paid tax. Out of that, you are getting a dividend. But again, at your hand, it is getting taxed. Imagine your company want to invest in another company. What will happen? If there is no reduction in tax for dividend, their investment will not happen. The companies will not invest in another company. that dividend that is suffered in a company, you are getting a dividend. Let's say in B company, in the B company P&L, this dividend will come. Again, you will be subject to taxation. This is what they are saying. You don't need to worry much. The next is interest is tax deductible expense. We know it. Dividends are not tax deductible. So there is a preference. The company would like to raise money through the debt because it is cheaper. We have seen it. Debt is the cheapest out of the three. They pay interest, they can reduce the profit, and the reduced profit will enable them a lower tax outflow. But if they pay dividend, dividend is after taxation. But what about the investor? I am a company, I can invest through bond or equity. If I invest in bond, let's say the company A and B, this is investor. This is the company, let's say limited. The company will think, okay, it is better to issue debt, that is cheaper. So they have a preference for debt. What about the investor? If the investor invests in debt bond of this company, what will happen to his P&L? He will be getting, he or we will be getting interest as an income. You supplied capital through debt, you will get interest periodically. This interest will be subject to taxation. Dividend is taxed at a lower rate, but interest is taxed fully. Most of the country, they give some allowance for the dividend. It's tax exempted. I mean, 3-4 years back, it was 100% exempted in India. So if dividend is taxed lower, then the investor will prefer equity only. So there is a disconnect between the intention of the company and the investor due to this taxation. This is what they are saying. Okay? You can read. I explained it. The corporation may be reluctant to issue common stock. They have a preference for debt. And again, if you issue common share, what will happen? The control will be getting diluted. But investor may be preferring a stock because of the favorable tax treatment at their hand. Look at the multinational corporation. They invest in many countries. Look at a company like Nestle, more than 120 countries. Nestle is a parent company, let's say sitting in Switzerland, based in Switzerland. The subsidiaries of Nestle in Japan, Canada, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, everywhere it is there. The company is subject to taxation. The taxation rules vary from country to country. So when you invest, okay, you have to look at the taxation. is whole story. Taxation is, in short, taxation is relevant on account of all this. Yet, because of the taxation, it is cheaper. Equity shareholder investors normally prefer equity because of the favorable tax treatment. How it is favorable, we have seen. When these tax laws, spin-off these tax rulings.
അയ്യോ അമ്മ നെറ്റ് ഓഫ് ആക്കിയോ?
ഞാനോ? ഞാൻ ആ ഭാഗത്തോട്ട് പോയി.